So it's been almost a year since I really posted anything on this channel, and I do apologize for that. A lot of it stems from there being no events that I've been able to go to in 2020. But I did have an event report from late 2019 that never made it onto the page because I was sick at the time and my voice sounded pretty bad. I tried to re-record the audio over top of it, but I just really wasn't feeling how that was coming out. It felt very disconnected from the video element itself to me. So I decided I'm just going to put this disclaimer here and post the video as is. Listening to it now, it doesn't sound quite as bad as I thought it did, but it does still sound kind of bad. I had to kind of record this in a rush because at the time I was planning to go to Battle Beach in December of 2019, and you'll even hear me reference that later in the video. However, I was down to the wire on getting the robot ready for that event and didn't manage to have anything ready to go, so my rush to record this video was kind of in vain anyway. But that's enough out of current me. I'll throw you back to late 2019 Phil to talk about this robot and the event.
Welcome to the event report for, well, my second annual work-based robot combat event. And I'm going to apologize right off the bat. I've been sick the last week or so, and my voice sounds terrible. I would put off making this video, except I need to strip this robot down for parts for another robot for an event in less than 2 weeks, so I really can't wait until my voice sounds better to start taking this thing apart. But anyway, this event was a sequel event to one I had last year at work. Our EVP is basically a fan of the show and asked me a year ago what it would take to do a robot event at work. So we ended up buying 4 Viper kits last year. I built an arena that's 4 foot square by 2 foot high wood arena with 1/4 inch polycarbonate. And we had an event last year. I documented it on the channel. And this year we decided to go ahead and buy 4 more Viper kits, bringing our total up to 8 bots. And because it wasn't a first time event, I decided I was just going to go ahead and bring my own robot. So in a very short amount of time, I printed out this chassis and assembled this robot, which I called War Corgi. So this is a bot very similar to many I've had in the past. It's a 1 pound vertical spinner. It's using the old Vrogi blade on there. You can see it's not very well attached. Using the same kind of motor they use in the Viper kits back here. And most of the chassis was 3D printed. The top armor is 3D printed also. The only, non 3D printed part are these 2 front wedges that were made out of Lexan. The thing runs 4 of the N20s for drive, and it has a 3S LiPo battery in there running everything. And like I said, it was a very slapped-together robot, and with the time it took to 3D print the parts, it meant that with limited time I had to build it. I didn't have any spare parts for the structural components, and I was kind of just grabbing things off the shelf that I had here to put together as quickly as I could. So as I mentioned, all the other bots were Viper kits. We had a full selection of all the different weapon options of Viper kits there, including that new, slightly larger vertical spinner. So this was the only thing that didn't fit directly into that mold. So my first fight was up against a robot called Gucci Gang, and this is using the old style vertical spinner. And I immediately ran into an issue with the weapon on War Corgi. I had originally designed this thing using a different ratio of pulleys because I thought I had a different kilovolt rating on the weapon motor I was running. I finally sat down and did the math and realized that my original reduction in motor voltage and everything was going to result in the robot's weapon spinning less than 100 miles an hour, which was really not what I wanted here. So I made a quick swap over to a different pulley on the weapon side. However, this was not one of the FingerTech pulleys. It was just another timing belt pulley about the same size that I had. I thought the tooth pattern matched up, and I realized at the event that the tooth pattern did not match up, and the belt was really not gripping particularly well on the weapon side. This meant the weapon would spin up, but as soon as it hit something, it lost all momentum because it had nothing pulling the weapon through. The belt was just immediately slipping on impact. The other thing I realized is that I hadn't done anything to the front wedges to make them sharp and able to get under another wedge. So the little Viper kit was able to get under me time and time again. At one point they managed to flip me on my back, and fortunately the weapon was spinning at this point. It righted itself, but I almost kind of shut the weapon off at this point as I realized it wasn't wasn't doing a whole lot of anything, and the flip seemed to have knocked one side of my drive out. So I was kind of just crab walking around the arena, and then eventually we went head to head again, and they flipped me over again, and I was completely stuck and out of the game. My next fight was up against Appetite for Destruction, one of the horizontal spinner style kits. Last year, nobody picked this weapon, so this year I just bought a bunch and kind of forced some people to have them. So we started the match, we both spun up, we went head to head, and they got the better of that first exchange. They actually took out a little bit of my weapon motor mount and knocked me aside. I spun back up, and I could hear that their weapon was starting to kind of grind on their top armor, it sounded like, and I hit him again, and the weapon shaft snapped off, and the weapon went flying. We then kind of got into a pushing match, and not too long after, I accidentally backed over their blade and completely high-centered my robot, leaving me immobile. So here you can see, it's not really bad, they just took a little bit of a clip out of the side of the weapon mount. But that issue with the blade snapping off, especially at the motor shaft, was really common for this event, and actually all three of the horizontal spinner kits we got ended up doing that, and I didn't buy spare motors, so we were left with a lot of wedges by the end of the thing. So last up was the Rumble, and yeah, this happened last year, and I should have tried to stop it this year, but the Rumble just kind of ended up being everybody running until the batteries ran out, which I know is not good for the batteries in the least, but I wasn't really able to do much. I spun up a little bit, I hit a few robots, I was kind of having a little bit of fun. I was only able to really crab walk, and eventually my weapon came out of its mount, and wasn't able to spin anymore. And the robot was going so slow between crab walking and having a low battery, I ended up just kind of parking it in the corner and shutting it down. But the fight went on for quite a while, but eventually somebody was able to either disable all the other bots or have them run their batteries down, and it finally ended after like an absurd amount of time. So that's it for this event. You know, it's not like a normal event report because it's not like a normal event. It's a team building, whatever exercise at work, and it was a lot of fun. It was, you know, I have Fridays off, but we had it on a Friday, and people that were there got to, you know, take the afternoon off and either participate or watch, and we brought in like snacks and stuff, and it was a good time. It seemed like most people enjoyed it. People who probably never even watched the show or have like a passing knowledge of it, you know, it seemed like they were still enjoying themselves and having fun watching the carnage and all that. For next year, I definitely want to look into a couple changes for the kits. I'm hoping by then Fingertech has the official larger vertical spinner kit in. I tried to make a mount for it and it ended up failing, so I'm hoping we'll have some official ones that are sturdier. I'd like to upgrade these smaller vertical spinners over to that as well, because those weapons are just so tiny. Horizontal spinner, I don't know if it's because I bought the motors separate. They were not in stock on Fingertech, so I bought some similar motors off of Hobby King, and like I said, all three ended up losing the weapon shaft. So I want to see if there's a better way to run those kits, because I know those kits can do some damage when they're working, so I don't know if it was just my motor choice or what that made them so fragile. And last year the winner was the flipper kit, and this year it ended up being that same robot facing off against another flipper kit. So the newer flipper kit ended up winning the whole event, beating out the champ from last year, and I gotta say it was really impressive. The driver, I don't think had ever driven a robot before, and they lost one of their drive motors like fairly early into the tournament. The entire shaft got sheared off, and it was another thing, all the spares had been taken by other people by that point, and they were able to, with one wheel, beat out a lot of other robots and take the whole event win right there. So that was really impressive. So that's about it. I'm sure you guys are probably tired of hearing me sound like I'm dying. My next event is Battle Beach in Orlando. So I need to steal the motors and speed controllers and stuff out of here. Actually, a lot of these electronics are going in the new Son of Gorgor. And then I need to get Demon Spawn, at least one of its weapons, back up and running so I can enter that as well. So that should be my next event report, and I will see you guys then. Bye.